Test. Do I need this in this room?
You don't have to, so you can just turn it off.
Actually, dude, can you guys hear me in the back okay?
Okay. We are like recording it and it's picking up here just as a reference, but you don't need to be talking.
If you are walking around, you do need the wireless so that this does pick up.
Yeah.
I'll do that then.
Okay. Yeah.
How do I get this out of here? Clippers on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the last talk. Now we're gonna be hearing from Chris Sorensen. He's the founder and president of Iteration Insights, which is a tech-enabled data analytics solutions provider based in Calgary, Alberta. He's also a Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate and Microsoft Certified Trainer with a combined 20 plus years of industry and teaching experience. Chris provides our partners with data-driven solutions they seek and has proven capabilities to train and empower their people in analytics. In his career, he has led numerous analytics projects in more than 15 different industries across small to different enterprise-sized organizations. So now let's give it up for Chris Sorensen.
Maybe next time I'll give a shorter description of myself. I didn't realize it was going to get rid of verbatim here. So thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming down for the conference and in particular my talk. I always like seeing such a large audience, and standing room is always kind of something fun to brag about. Yeah, so I've already chatted with a lot of you in the networking sessions and stuff like that a few minutes ago. You probably heard, some of you probably in my panel session. And I honestly have to admit, I feel like I'm going to repeat a few things. So if you're in that, you're going to hear a few things over again, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So I'm going to start my presentation off with a question. What's your motivation for being here? Someone raise your hand. Something point. Back there. What's that?
You love data.
You love data. Okay, that's good. Let's go with one more.
Networking.
Networking, perfect. That's one of the best things about being in a session like this is networking. This is the first time in a couple of years, like everybody, I guess, that I actually get a chance to be in front of people. Next week I get to speak at the SAFEBI group. I have not walked through those halls in years, and I'm pretty excited to go just talk. But yeah, anyone else? What else? Who has some other motivation? Let's go to this side of the room. You.
Figure out what I don't know and figure out what's important.
Exactly. Figure out what you don't know and what's important. So I'll give you my perspective on things, and I do have to keep this to 20 minutes. Thankfully, there's a clock over there so I don't go over, because those of you who know me know I can talk for a long time. So why is this such a hot topic? I think right now, as I was kind of mentioning in the panel session, it's a convergence of a lot of things right now. I think a lot of organizations are starting to see the value of data and what their competitors are doing and what others are doing with it. So there's that happening. I always kind of like to joke that the younger generation, which I'm not part of, is becoming more tech-enabled, more data-enabled, using more information to make their decisions in their daily life. And that is slowly starting to work its way into the workforce, and the expectations are different. And of course, I do like to give a little bit of credibility to that, or not credibility, but props to the cloud, because it is actually now allowing us to do a lot more than we ever have been in the past at a much more effective price if you're doing stuff properly. It can be a horrible, expensive mess if you don't do it right, but if you do it right, it can be quite economical. So that's kind of what I think is there's just so much interest in this space right now because everyone's doing it, everyone's speaking the language, and there's just a lot of interest. So there has been a lot of talk on this whole data-driven culture and what it's really about. Is more we see more organizations becoming data-driven, and more people want to become data-driven. What is really kind of driving all this stuff? And I like to kind of define a data-driven organization first by saying it's an environment that strives to utilize this data foundation. Hopefully they have a data foundation in place, and if not, that's something we can certainly work on. And you can all work on in your careers, helping build that data foundation out and understanding what it's really all about. And really that's there to help support a system of fact-based decisions. So you're hoping to put this stuff in place so that people can make fact-based and informed decisions that they feel confident in. So I know that sounds simplistic, that's pretty simple. I read an 800-page book on this, and I didn't get that, and you just summarize it in one sentence. It's really just that simple, right? Trying to get your data foundation in order so that you can make timely and accurate business decisions, and those decisions with confidence. And that's what a lot of programs I'm going to talk about here in a bit are trying to enable you to do, or give you the skills to be able to help your organizations to do. And you want to make those decisions whenever and wherever possible, because you want to elevate efficiency and effectiveness of your business. So that's kind of what the data-driven culture is all about. And this is from Gartner, so I'm just stealing the quote from theirs. Culture and data literacy are the two top roadblocks for data and analytics leaders. So that's not something you solve with technology, that's a people problem. Or people challenge, maybe I should say. So if you were in the panel, that was somebody, I forget what the question was around what's one of the biggest challenges in analytics. It's more around the people, and getting people aware of what can be done, how to do things, appreciating the value of analytics and where it can take you. And once you start getting that, that's a good solution. I was just talking to a colleague of mine, Ian, and I was saying what drives me nuts when I hear people asking this one question that gets asked a lot, it's usually a finance person, is what's the ROI of this project you're going to work on, this data analytics thing? There is no answer to that. And it sounds really weird when I'm talking about data analytics and fact-based decision making. I just told you I can't calculate that for you. It's now becoming table stakes for organizations. I can make a number up for you if you want, knowing full well that most organizations aren't going to measure it, hold it to you and stuff like that. But I just honestly say that's not something that's easily measured. It's now just table stakes. You need to start becoming like this, or people will start going right by you. All right, so kind of the crux of the topic here is the road to analytics. So there's all kinds of different ways you can get into it. That's kind of what the topic Peers and Data is all about here, is how do I get from where I'm now to the top of the mountain over there? Rather fitting we use the mountain because we talked about that in our panel today, is how do I actually get from where I'm at now to becoming, or to getting a career in data analytics. So, taking a look on the right-hand side there, you've got the student view. So I'm a student, I'm fresh out of school. How do I land that first job? What are the things I can do? I'm working, so I'm at a job, and I don't like the way things are going. And when I say don't like the way things are going, maybe I'm doing this boring, mundane process that I feel like I could automate, and I'd like to do better because I've seen some presentations on analytics. What can I do here to start growing my data and analytics acumen? Or I'm out of work right now. I'm looking for work for whatever reason. How do I go from here to there? And there's a way for everybody to get there if you want to get there. And it's just a matter of trying to understand what the path looks like and working your way through it. So some of these things may seem a little bit obvious, but sometimes it's the basics and the 101 things that just kind of need to be resurfaced and rehashed. So there's a number of different ways to learn analytics. There's formal schooling. So I see a lot of people in here that have from the UC. I've talked to a lot of the state students. So you can take one of the UC programs. I know the Masters of, there's so many of them, I forget the name, Master of Analytics program at UC speaking here.
Masters of Data Science and Analytics.
What's that again?
Masters of Data Science and Analytics.
Masters of Data Science and Analytics. Are you in the program?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good. Yeah. So there's programs. Everyone's got a program now. So back when it's kind of funny because I started teaching at the state program back in 2012, 11, something like that. I should really know the number. There was very few programs out there in analytics, and it was kind of I almost kind of want to say it was one of the first ones out of the gate in the 2010, 2008, 9 range, something like that. But now everybody's got an analytics program. So UC has stuff, Con Ed, stuff like that. Master's program, SAIT, Bow Valley College has one across the street. Olds College has a really interesting one around agriculture, which I think is particularly fascinating, given I'm a Southern Alberta boy. Worked a lot around agriculture, NATE, BCIT. And I picked all these out because our HR person actually did a blog on this year and a half ago, something like that, saying, hey, if you want a spot to come learn some of this stuff, or at least where to go, here's some of your resources. There's the self-led schooling. So one of the things that every now and again people ask me about, what's one skill you look for? And there's no one skill. Like I want a bunch of stuff, but there's a lot of different things I triangulate on. is I like people that never stop learning. So if you look on my LinkedIn profile, I use the hashtag a lot, hashtag never stop learning, because way back when I first got into analytics, you would read a SQL Server book, you would read a book on Excel. The product didn't change for years. So you read it, you said, all right, I know the new stuff, the new versions come out in 2 years, maybe 4. I'm good. And you just kind of left your skills alone and you did stuff, right? But now there's, just take a look on LinkedIn once again. There's a million different things coming along. You don't really know what you should be learning. It gets very distracting in some ways. And I was just joking with Ian in the hallway. So the next big distraction right now is ChatGPT. Everyone's going, maybe that's going to solve all my problems. I just put ChatGPT and all my problems are going to go away, right? Mark my words, that's going to start coming up here in the next little bit. And I jokingly see that as a bit of an opportunity because people are going to try it, people are going to fail, and I'm going to go help them clean their mess up. It's just the way it works. I've been in this industry long enough to see the cycle go round and round and around. People trying to find the easy way out. There is no easy way out. You need to be disciplined. You need to get on the path and just stick with it, right? So never stop learning. Tons of great resources out there. I put 4 up here. I'm sure there's probably 400 or 4,000 that are good. I put Microsoft Learn up there because we're a Microsoft shop, but you'll find equivalently or equally good things on Google, AWS. Those are really the 3 that I kind of look at. I'm sure there's tons of others out there. But even myself, we focus. We try to stay, even as and actually this is probably a good lesson for everybody, is even my consulting organization, we focus on the Microsoft suite of products because we want to be the best at that. And I could distract myself by trying to become AWS and Google and SAP and Oracle. That doesn't serve anybody very well. I'm diluted all over the place. So we've even chosen to focus and become the best at that. And there's enough work in that space. There's enough work in Google and AWS here in town that pick a lane and go. That's kind of my big thing. Microsoft Learn, LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, TDWise. It used to be called the Data Warehousing Institute. Data warehousing is not a cool word anymore, so it's called Transforming Data with Intelligence. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of organizations have been through data warehousing initiatives. They failed miserably, cost a lot of money, so we're doing the same things, calling them something different now, because that's what marketing departments do. So yeah, those are some places out there. So is anything else I'm missing here? What else out there?
Coursera.
Oh yes, Coursera, yeah.
Deeplearning.ai.
Oh, EDX, yeah. Is EDX still around?
Yeah, it is.
Wow, I did tons on EDX. Yeah.
One of the famous institutions.
Yeah, oh boy. 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I used to do a lot on EDX. That was a great platform. YouTube, yeah, YouTube. So we've got all of our stuff, shameless plug, coming up on YouTube. It was really kind of cool. I was talking about, it was during COVID, user groups and stuff. It all got pushed online. So we said, all right, well, I guess we better make the best of the situation. Let's do all of our user groups. Let's record them. Let's put them on YouTube. And lo and behold, we're monetized all of a sudden. So I was like, wow, we can start making money at YouTube. This is crazy. So we thought, all right, well, why don't we kind of pitch our tent in this space and throw self-learning out there? How can I learn these different products and what's available? So we've got stuff on YouTube, like I say, a bit of a shameless plug there, but all kinds of different ways to learn and get experience. And then of course there's the on-the-job and relevant experience. So finding some subject matter that interests you. I talked to a few people that you're working in finance, you're working in marketing, and you want to start doing something with analytics. Well, all kinds of opportunities in finance departments and marketing departments and operations departments to show how you can use your analytics skills and acumen to help them out. Automate one step at a time. It doesn't have to be a big bang, some fireworks going off. It's just help somebody out with something small and increment and build on it. Iteration stage. And find some tangible goals. Other things too, being involved in these communities. I'm super excited I can't believe how excited I am today. I'm going to go home and have a Guinness and fall asleep. Is just getting together with people again, being around the community. This is fantastic. So being here is really good as well. There's other ones in town as well, the Data for Good. And there's, take a look on the infographic that was shown this morning. There's a ton of groups here in town. And when I first got into this many years ago, there was probably about 4 or 5 user groups in town. It was hard to get information, and it was kind of fun because there were a few of them, so you'd have a lot of people and a lot of pizza and some beers and stuff like that. Now there's a lot of them, so there's it's hard to pick and choose which ones you want to go to. But yeah, there's those user communities, and then if you're a Microsoft person, we run a Power Platform and Azure Analytics user group. So all kinds of different ways to kind of get involved is just start getting involved and stick with it. All right, so I do like to, what do we got here? Just a couple minutes here. So even my analytics journey, I do kind of like to share it a little bit because I think it may lend a little perspective in here. Is that, way back when I was in university doing a dual finance and accounting and management information system degree back in the late 90s. And I got tired of being in school. I wanted to get out and make money. So I said, which one can I finish first? MIS was the one I finished first. Plus the MIS crowd was way more fun. They loved to go to the pubs. The accounting crowd wanted to study for CPA, CA exams and stuff. That wasn't very fun. So I finished with MIS, got out of school, got my first job at WestJet. Actually, no, my first job was at University of Lethbridge. And I was a practicum student. So practicum opportunities. And then I got on at WestJet. And then I thought, man, I'm working an awful lot with finance people. Maybe I should learn to speak their language. Partway through my accounting designations, or I had a lot of the classes towards my accounting designations, so I thought, what the heck? I'm young, I don't have kids, I got time, why don't I get my CJ, I guess at the time it was. And honestly, I chose that one because it was the one that was going to be the easiest for me to get in my self-learning time, so I did that. And it helped out a lot, like to be able to speak the language of the business and understand technology. It's a really good skill, and that's one thing I really like about analytics. We talked about that in the panel as well, is that having a breadth of experience and background is really good. So having all kinds of different, walks of life and different degrees, it's a great thing because everyone brings a different perspective. And like I kind of said before, when I first got into this, I assumed that if you don't have an IT degree, you can't get into data analytics. It's not the case. I think it's great. And it's necessary to have all these different backgrounds in place. So yeah, that's kind of my journey, and I got in through, like I said, co-op programs and practicum programs. That's why I really believe in those. That's why we, as Iterations, support practicum programs around us. We've got a couple going up to the state students, a couple for UFC stuff we're going to speak to next week, and then others said, hey, what about us? And I was like, oh, I never even thought about that. Maybe we should see about getting practicums out for offers, or postings up for others as well. So just as people ask these questions, like, oh, I never thought about that. So yeah, that's kind of my journey into things, was schooling, finding that first opportunity, being very thankful for getting a practicum and somebody in a group that was supportive, and then really the rest is history. So what do we got here? 20 after? I think I just got a couple more slides here. It'll just be a couple more here, then we'll do some stuff. So what are the different roles? So this is out of one of my favorite books in analytics. It's the Data Warehouse Lifecycle Toolkit by Ralph Kimball. Has anyone ever heard of Ralph Kimball? Yeah, so he's a legend in the space. You don't really hear a lot about him and his team anymore, but it's amazing how the books that he wrote were back from the late 90s, and they're still very relevant today. Technologies are different for sure. People appreciate data more for sure, but a lot of the stuff that they talked about back then is still very relevant. So in terms of an analytics team, I always like to think of teams as like a sports team. You got your front office, you got the people that sponsor and they drive the initiative, they got the reason for doing stuff, the funding. You got coaches, project managers, leaders and stuff like that say, hey, let's on a day-to-day basis help make sure we're in the right direction, knock roadblocks down, stuff like that. And then where most people will probably start their career in data is going to be in that core team. And I'll talk more about the core team in a little bit. And then like every team, there's some special teams that are important to helping grow the initiatives up. So the areas where, especially I always kind of tell the SATE students this when I was teaching there is, chances are the first job in analytics you're going to get is something around reporting. It doesn't sound cool, it doesn't sound sexy, but it's the start. It's where a lot of people you're going to go. And you're going to land probably in the data analyst world. Somewhere around there doing reporting, working with business users. Some will work on the data engineering side, so I always like to use analogies here. Data engineer is kind of the back office, kind of like when you go into a restaurant, there's a kitchen, and there's all kinds of wonderful things happening back in the kitchen. You don't see it, food preparation, cutting fish up, meat up. We don't want to see that when we walk in the restaurant. We want to see a nice plated meal. So Data engineers are the ones prepping stuff, getting it all ready, taking deliveries and all that, and making sure that stuff's going to get out to the end users. The analysts, and they can go out and start consuming things and asking questions and things like that. So those are the two primary places you're going to start. You probably, at least what I see, not a lot of people go directly into data science, data scientists. You need to be in the business to be a subject matter expert, and you'll go get some experience on that over time. There's QA roles and architects. That takes you a while to get. You need some experience in analytics before you get there, and frankly, you need to fail a lot. That's my best stories and my best learnings come from all my failures and getting beat over the head in projects and saying, man, I don't like this, I hate this. But now they tell the best stories, and it really kind of essentially made me who I am today in the analytics space. So one last slide before we go to Q&A. Skills for success, the ability to collaborate and communicate. Like I was saying to some, I don't remember who it was the other day. I went for a lunch with a colleague of mine, and I said, put all the books and theories and design methodologies in front of us. If your team can't collaborate and communicate, you're done. So come up with all these wonderful strategies. If they're not collaborating and communicating, you're gonna have you're not done. You're gonna have a really hard time succeeding. You're gonna have a steeper uphill battle. Having some business and technical skills is a good thing, obviously, because that's the fun thing about. It used to be called business intelligence, and I always like to say, hey, there's not just IT. There's the business side of business intelligence, which means having some business acumen. You need to be curious. I've always been kind of curious around data. I was even the other day kind of just driving down the road, looking at my fuel gauge on the vehicle, and it said I was getting 10.1 liters per 100 kilometers, something like that. And I thought, man, I remember back in the day when I would fill up at the gas station, I'd write my kilometers down the log, I'd write down how much gas I put in the tank, and then I'd pull this little slider out saying, oh great, I got this much gas miles. Right? I'd proudly do that every time that I filled my gas tank up. And that was kind of, I reflect on, wow, that's kind of where I really started. Right? I started writing all this stuff down, trying to make sure, I scribbled that in a pen, what number was that? My data quality is poor. So yeah, just always these little curiosity things. And I worked for WestJet for a while. I remember getting on every airplane saying, I wonder if this is a profitable flight. Are we making money on this flight? How much fuel are we burning? If we take this diversion here, is it more fuel? Like always thinking about what ifs and data and stuff like that. So being curious, being a problem solver, and importantly, continuous learner. Let's turn it over to some Q&A. I've done enough talking here. I'm going to get a little water because this room is super hot. Water. Anyone have any questions? Do you already haven't asked me? Go ahead.
Can you talk about like the transition to like the entry level analyst or something more senior like machine learning engineer or like data scientist? Like that transition?
I can't because I've never done it. So I've never actually moved into machine learning or AI.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have any, I honestly don't have any experience talking about that.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
So I was just wondering, since it's a data, you're the founder of a data analytics company, right? Would you, I heard that this might be like generalizing it, but is Power BI the main tool to just build visualization for your clients, or do you also do like statistical modeling, or do you also go into that area?
So for my business, I don't do any statistical modeling. We do use Power BI and the Microsoft product for doing our analytics. But that's our business. There's plenty of other good visualization tools out there. Tableau. Looker. Okay, actually, I've heard of Looker. Saw the logo, but I don't really know much about it. Really, Tableau and Power BI are the two that I see a lot of, and mostly Power BI. But that's my world. Like I live in that world, so of course I don't see all the other stuff that's going on. There's plenty of other really good tools out there. So I'm not. I always kind of like to say that. You can, a good tool can be driven into the ground by a bad developer, a bad person. An okay tool can be made to look really good with a really good person sitting in front of it. So it's not necessarily all the time, it's not always about the technology, it's about the person sitting in front of the technology. I've met many people that have done some pretty poor stuff in Power BI. It's a great tool, but if you don't know how to use it, you could start doing some pretty bad things with it. And same thing with Tableau, and you can just list whatever tool you want. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a question out of the blue, but what role do you think that people who understand reports and understand data, not the modeling, not making the dashboards, but how important do you think that someone who can explain something to someone who does not understand data, what kind of role can people play in there?
Definitely a sales role, and that's actually a lot of, in any analytics team, there's components of any business functions. There's a finance element to a data team, there's an HR element, so guiding good people, building a culture. There is a, sorry, what was the question again? It was the, what department?
Yeah, it's mainly because in my experience, when I do more advanced analytics or statistical modeling, advanced modeling, and I need to explain that to
sales,
the benefitter, they often do not understand.
Exactly, so that's where I was going. So
Yeah.
a good data team has to be able to market itself. It has to be able to sell itself and go out and tell people why we're here and why we're important. You kind of heard that in the talk this morning. Is Annette said, some people aren't even aware of who I am and that we even exist. Well, I see that as a little bit of a problem. You want to go and expose yourself. Here's what we do. Here's the value. Here's how we can help you. That's a marketing function inside an analyst team that says, here's what we do. What ends up happening if you don't do that type of stuff, at some point in time, somebody's going to come along and say, there's 40 people on that team and the numbers are on a spreadsheet. Let's scratch that down to 20. Because they had no idea who that group of 20 even was, right? So, or 40 was. They say, okay, well, there's just a number on a spreadsheet or a piece of paper, whatever. But if people know who you are, they know the value add, how you can help, and I always encourage BI teams to put newsletters out. Is that my signal to? Is that my signal to stop? Yeah, to constantly just expose and tell people what you're doing, be proud of what you do, help people out, and make sure they know it, right? And then there's that element of selling, right? Getting out and telling people how you can help them. Okay. No, that must be that's my kids. My kids always leave lights on in rooms. I gave that cloud analogy earlier, so maybe this is the same. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it's just something I see a lot, especially in larger companies where they have very intelligent people that they hire. But I see often that they don't have someone who can translate that into more, explain me like I'm five. You understand?
Yeah, storytelling, yeah.
Yeah, storytelling, yeah. 100%. That's a very important thing to be able to communicate. Because back in the, we got a couple minutes here. Back in the day, people would build data warehouses saying, if we build it, they will come. We're going to build this wonderful IT thing and pull everything together, and the business is going to come rushing. Just watch. And they'd build it, and nobody would come. It's because they missed the target. They didn't actually give the business what they wanted. They said, oh, that's great. That's a really nice technical endeavor. Go shine the car. It's just sitting there and doesn't run. I can't do anything with it, right? So I forget, somebody said that on the panel this morning, one of the people on the panels, but is it's also making sure that even the people building the stuff up know why they're doing it. I can hear people, I'm just going to throw a bunch of buzzwords out, so this is going to mean nothing. I've developed this thing, that ultra-performant airflow pipeline, and wow, it's the best thing, and I deliver all this data, and somebody goes, what's it for? I don't know. Well, it doesn't need to be there. If it may sound cool, and it sounds awesome, and all these things, that tech person gets excited, but if the business user says, I don't care, then it's useless, right? So you've got to always be making sure you're building things that people need, right? So, and there's plenty of stories out there like that. And I was once a proud technician too. I loved it, I was proud of it. And I'd go show somebody and say, okay. And then move on to the next thing, right? I'd build up fleet and go, oh, what's going on? And then I realized, wait a minute, I need to ask them what they want, and why they want it, and how can I help them, right? So that takes a while to kind of get into it. And you're gonna all see that in your career. You're gonna build stuff up and people are gonna say, all right. So if you can figure out that thing that's going to get them excited, you're good to go. But now I think I am being slowly walked off the stage. Anyhow, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
No problem.